Hello, I'm Joel Allegretti. I'm pleased to be reading in Hoboken Library's Positive Poetry Reading Series for National Poetry Month. I'll start off by testing your knowledge of old science fiction movies. The 1950s B-movie morality play, or Creature from the Black Lagoon, Grant Us Peace. Life was too luxurious in the suburbs. Streets swept virgin immaculate, lawns the envy of the Irish, somber rhythms percolated on the stereo. We were the middle-class Eloy in split-level tract homes. We needed those Saturday mornings with a tarantula the size of Ecuador to remind us of our good fortune. Burnt supper? D in arithmetic? Please. Inconsequential weight against an intergalactic raspberry gelatin consuming a roadside diner. In every driveway, a waxed Impala or Oldsmobile beamed under the Sunday dinner sun. Fireworks sequined heaven on the 4th. Melting ice cream gloved our fingers. No trace of a radioactive brontosaurus. Yes, we knew late-night awakenings. But at least they had nothing to do with Martian reconnaissance setting up shop in the field behind the house. Had we ever noticed how doors slammed at 2 a.m. resembled gunshots? Or something approaching Tokyo from the sea? The sleepless hours and the rage in the next room were only a minor inconvenience. Think of The Incredible Shrinking Man. Nobody had it worse. Let's go through that. Middle-class Eloy. The Eloy are from The Time Machine, which actually came out in 1960. Tarantula, the size of Ecuador. Tarantula. Intergalactic raspberry gelatin. Everybody knows that one. Radioactive brontosaurus. The redundantly titled The Giant Behemoth. Martian reconnaissance. Invaders from Mars. Something approaching Tokyo from the sea. Take your pick. And The Incredible Shrinking Man. I wrote this next poem after reading the Crow Jane poems in Amiri Baraka's collection, The Dead Lecturer, which he published when he was still Leroy Jones. I comfort Crow Jane. Dear Jane, no one set the wheat fields ablaze. Look toward night for the culprits. See the pockmarks on the black tar sky. The stars, numb from the silence of heaven and tired of being so removed from us, dislodged themselves and descended to learn what all the fuss was here. It was their curiosity ignited the fires that scorched a path to the sea. The burden of days blows through our lives like breath through a harmonica. In the heart of every tree is a guitar waiting for its craftsman. The waters part at our approach. Come, walk. Each new era cries for its own Moses. As I walked a wooded path on a Saturday in June, I didn't see deer out to forage, but I passed a man who was smoking a cigarette and carrying 2 white dress shirts on hangers. Nice shirts, I said. Thanks, he replied. Why, I felt compelled to inquire, are you carrying 2 dress shirts in the woods? 2 dress shirts? The man repeated, and looked at the garments that hung from his fingers. Damn, he said, I dropped one. That poem is based on a real encounter. I did walk a wooded path on a Saturday one June, and I did pass a guy who was smoking a cigarette and carrying 2 white dress shirts on hangers. I thought, is David Lynch filming here? This next poem is about one of Andy Warhol's superstars and my girl. Poem for Nico. Somehow, there was always Berlin. You never ceased to hear the cranky rhythms of the trains. Headed where? That rat-a-tatted little Christa to sleep, and the Nibelungen danced through her dreams in patent leather boots. A record whirls on a parlor phonograph. Hildegard Knepp singing Song of the Lonely Girl in 1952. You hated her. 30 years on, in the pale blue fluorescence of flame under spoon, you would think she sounds like you. Always an inch away, vicious as a razor, dark as your Sturm und Drone, the dreadful edge you hungered for. Your guide was not the murdered father, the mad mother walking circles round the kitchen, the neglectful lovers, or the absent, present, absent son. I don't tempt fate. Fate tempts me. The derelict heart beats out of time. Here's a poem about a street that Nico knew well. The Bowery, 1975. The club band adds a fourth chord. Classical music. Down the street, tattered man sleeps. Asphalt mattress. Rounding the corner, the cabbie doesn't see him. 10 feet to homicide. Tonight, guitars are louder than sirens. Let's stay on the Bowery. In 2007, I took a Poets House sponsored walk with the poet Brenda Kultas, and she talked about the changes that the street had undergone over the years. Our assignment was to jot down our observations and compose a 14-line poem. This was my poem. It contains 14 lines, but is without meter and rhyme, hence the title. The Bowery Not Sonnet. Tell me everything you know about a green door on Bleecker Street. Not about the diligent carpenter who planed it into being, but the door itself and its need to separate us from someone else. Tell me when the Bowery dropped its UIE and gave up its CBGB. Then I will tell you I want to spend a night, maybe 2, in a seaman's home on 4th Street, and imagine a concertina wheezing me to sleep with choruses of "Sail away, lady, sail away." But right now I'm distracted by the man on the fire escape who is facing Lower Manhattan. He is, I suppose, thinking about the Twin Towers and how loss makes us who we are. 7 out of every 10 9/11 first responders suffer from respiratory distress. He's smoking a cigar. Even minor acts show we're engaged in life. Meanwhile, over on East 7th, Christ looks down on McSorley's old alehouse and smiles at the goodness of it all. This next poem is one of 3 of mine in a British anthology of science fiction poetry. Jules Verne and H.G. Wells always get the credit, but science fiction scholars regard Frankenstein by Mary Shelley as the first science fiction novel. Victor Frankenstein assembled his creature out of pieces of corpses. This poem employs the poet's version of the Frankenstein method. Acento. I chose works written prior to 1818, the year Mary Shelley published Frankenstein, because I wanted to draw from works that she would have known. So in order, I use lines from Shakespeare, Percy Shelley, Lord Byron, George Herbert, Alexander Pope, John Keats, Pope again, Shakespeare again, Mary Wollstonecraft, and a 17th century English translation of Rabelais' Gargantua and Pantagruel by Sir Thomas Urquhart and Peter Anthony Matteux. The poem is meant to reflect Victor Frankenstein's point of view. And this intro is longer than the poem. Poem for Mary Shelley. Speak, hands, for me. The awful shadow of some unseen power floats, though unseen among us. I had a dream which was not all a dream. Man is all symmetry, full of proportions, one limb to another, a brain of feathers and a heart of lead. Oh, misery of hell! A little learning is a dangerous thing. Fire answers fire. No man chooses evil because it is evil. He only mistakes it for happiness. Science without conscience is but the ruin of the soul. My Tarantella. These are the grapes, honey-sweet grapes, I picked from the vine to crush for my wine, and these are the marks of the bite of the fangs that hide in the grapes at home on the vine. And these are my feet, my maniacal feet, and this is the dance I'm driven to dance by the bite of the fangs concealed by the grapes I pulled off the vine to press for my wine. The form of that poem was inspired by The Dance by William Carlos Williams. In a previous life, one of my previous lives, I was a martial artist. I held a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo and was an instructor. One style that fascinated me was the Brazilian martial art capoeira, which looks like a dance. It's done to the accompaniment of percussion instruments and a musical bow called the berimbau. When we think martial arts, we think Asia, but capoeira's roots lie in Africa, specifically Angola. This poem is dedicated to the late Kleber de Freitas, who showed me how to do the basic capoeira footwork in the summer of 1998. Capoeira. The percussion percusses and the berimbau's berimbau as a couple of capoeiristas execute jinga and queixada in a game of combat ballet. This next poem appeared in the Westward Expansion issue of Sensations magazine. It was in Section 2, The Purge of Native Americans from Their Homeland, 1830 to 1890. The poem is called Ghost Dance Song. The Ghost Dance was a religious cult that originated with the Northern Paiutes in Nevada in 1869-1870. Believers performed a ritual to drive the white invaders away and restore the traditional way of life. Later, other tribes took up the ghost dance. The poem employs the form of genuine ghost dance songs. We are singing to the Father. We are singing to the Father. We were driven from our land. We were driven from our land. Father, do you hear? Father, do you hear? We are singing from our graves. We are singing from our graves. The Father tells us. The Father tells us. Out on the windy plains. Out on the windy plains. 1,000 bison grieve for us. 1,000 bison grieve for us. Ghost Dance Song. This next poem is about an individual who wandered the streets of Paris in the middle of the night till the middle of the 18th century. Bellman of the Dead. His clanging comes at 1 o'clock, commencing at the shuttered market, faint at first, more a clink than a clang, like sugar tongs against a teacup, sweet and delicate, a confection for the drowsy ear. It does not intrude on us. His clanging comes at 1 o'clock, the clanging billows at our window sills. It startles rats into gutter asylums and cats into the comfort of shadows. It heaves against our bedroom walls and tears at our nightshirts to wrest us from our dreams. His clanging comes at 1 o'clock. He moves like a charnel house vapor. He reeks of a solitary piety. We see the femurs and the tibias woven into his shabby sleeves, the craniums embellishing his cowl. His shoes are fouled with muck. Reverence has calloused his heels. His clanging comes at 1 o'clock, and with the clanging comes his clamor. Awake, awake, awake for the dead! The dead implore your prayers. Descend to your knees, cripple your fingers with rosaries, scorch your throats with Ave Marias. Pray for the dead, pray for the dead. His clanging comes at 1 o'clock. He rattles our repose. He sunders our copulations. Our pillows are confounded by the sudden absence of our heads. We engrave the darkness with paternosters and miserares, for the admiral who eased the hunger of the sharks, for the blacksmith slut of a wife, for the doctor's stillborn daughter, for the pauper dead and pauper fields, for all the named and nameless dead, for the dead, the dead, the dead, the dead. His clanging comes at 1 o'clock. We are weary of the dead. The dead do not hear us. The dead do not thank us. The dead do not indulge us, but we indulge the dead. These prayers we pray, these prayers we proffer at the prodding of his din, we submit as well to our own selves, for they remind us and reassure us that we are alive and have not yet died when his clanging comes at 1 o'clock. The title of this next poem comes from The Red Book by Carl Jung. And I threw everything from me and wandered toward the east, where the light rises daily. My life is a letter addressed to the east. My home is the road from the west to the east. My knapsack is light. I possess myself. Thus I walk, at whose behest? To the east. An elephant, white, plodded through my dreams. I'm the Buddha? Dolt, take your jest to the east. My vigor vis-a-vis the monks is scant. My backbone is iron. I'm obsessed with the east. A hermit wished me Godspeed and said, it's done, my long, fruitless quest for the east. Our common mission in his eyes reposed. I vowed his name would find rest in the east. How long have I traveled, and what distance? Surely it's my lot to be blessed by the east. My beard is belly long and millstone gray. Has the east denied my request for the east? I have one more poem. My latest collection is Platypus from NYQ Books. It contains poems, short stories, performance texts, and text art. It has a little bit of everything, so I named it after an animal that has a little bit of everything. I like to think of this final selection as Yoko Ono meets Leaves of Grass. The Walt Whitman Complex. Go and find a lawn that is as green as lawn implies. Stand at its edge and pluck a blade of grass, only one. Hold a blade close to your face. Study it. Touch it. Smell it. Experience the meaning of grass. When you are sure you know the piece of grass as no one else ever could, put it in your mouth and eat it. And in eating, become the grass. Walk to the middle of the lawn. Lie down with your arms extended from your side and rest in the knowledge that you are surrounded by family. Thank you.